Guys, welcome to the new episode of the First Responder Playbook. It's my pleasure today to have Dr. Caroline Sangal with me. Dr. Sangal, you've had a interesting career arc. You've got a PhD in polymer science,
Yeah.
a background in recruiting, coaching, HR, and you have your own career assessment. And you're the founder of Next Success, where you support high achieving professionals and job seekers who are ready for clarity, fulfillment, and a career that truly fits. Thank you for joining me today, and tell me a little bit more about that. Like that's such a unique background.
Thank you. Well, everybody's unique though, right? We're all made on purpose for a purpose only we can do. And the fun part of life is figuring out what the heck that is. so,
Absolutely.
um, but I do have the degree, I do have the letters behind my name, but you can just call me Carolyn. Anybody can. So, um, yeah, I started my career like many people do, listening to very well-intentioned people around me, as I was kind of grasping with what is it that I could do or should do, right? So what I've come to learn and realize is that questioning your career is absolutely normal. It happens at very predictable stages. Some we embrace, like at 18. Then maybe if somebody chooses to go on for some advanced education, could be 22, could be 26, where people start to question. But that same thing also happens every 7 to 10 years afterwards. Most of the time, people override it. So when I was in that 18-ish frame, my father had been in education. I always thought I wanted to maybe be an educator. And he's like, girl, I don't think that that's going to support the lifestyle I think you want to be accustomed to. But you're good at math, you're good at science. Do something tech related. And there's a big need for women in, STEM fields, women in tech fields. And so, being that obedient daughter, I went for it. And I decided to study first chemical engineering. So like God bless these people, but they calculate things like the pressure that drops through a pipe, right? So I could do it. And now how does that relate to practical terms? Well, if you have a short hose and you're washing your car, there's more pressure than there is in a longer hose washing your car, right? So I get that intuitively. I don't cool that people want to calculate that. That's just not my jam. So I had these things where I was having this visceral reaction because even though I was doing it and doing it well, my gut was like feeling like I ate something wrong. Like, am I about to get sick? What is the situation? I switched to chemistry because I thought, okay, well, let me salvage this thing. Again, many people do this too. You get into something, you start studying it, and then you think, oh gosh, did I make a mistake? Let me salvage what I can and quickly, finish something. So I switched to chemistry, liked the materials, ended up getting a co-op job. So that's the kind of things that in some tech fields you work at a company and then you go to school, then you work at a company and you go to school, kind of alternating semesters. The engineering program had that very well defined. Chemistry did not, but I decided to make my own path. Got fortunate to get hired into a larger company doing that kind of work. Looked around, saw the kind of jobs people had. The ones that had more leading and deciding what could be done had higher degrees. So I was able to fortunately um, get a graduate assistantship to be able to go on and get my PhD in polymer science. It was fun. It was cool. But even that, I would see people if they were doing synthesis, so combining materials together to make new molecules, right? And again, I could do that, but part of it was like shaking a separatory funnel, like to see how do different things that have reacted separate out as an organic layer or an aqueous layer. Okay, again, same gut feeling, like, oh my gosh, people actually spend their lives doing it. And I'm looking to my left and my right at other people and they're loving it. And I'm thinking, oh man, that's not for me. But if I could understand it and I could talk, because some of those folks were more introverted, if I could understand what they're doing, why, how it mattered, maybe I could communicate it and lead it and all those things. So I had fun. Um, did very well. This is the thing. You can do something and you can do it well, and you could still feel like you're made for something more and there's more out there. Um, I went into R&D in the chemical industry. I made things like structural adhesives to bond metal parts of cars together. I studied things like fatigue and fracture mechanics. So what I like to say is I studied how things broke so I could make them stronger. And come on, like if you could do school and you get to break things, like have huge impact towers slamming down on parts and seeing how they broke, you spend most of your life where it's like, don't break something, don't break that. You break it, you buy it. And then it's like, wait, I could get a degree and be studying how things break. That's awesome. But it was really how they make them stronger. I now do that with people. I got laid off back in the day. That was a real hit to the ego because I was thinking, are you kidding me? Out of 3,000 people, you chose 300 and my name was on the list. And I'm looking around going, seeing who wasn't on the list. And I'm thinking, they get to stay. I mean, I made you multi-million dollars of adhesives. I commercialized products. I led teams through innovation development. My name is on the list. But yeah, my name was on the list because everyone working for someone else is just one business decision away from not being there anymore, right? So that was a hard lesson, but a very important one for me to have that experience. I now know it happened for me, not to me. I went back. I had kids. I was pregnant with our second child when I was laid off. So that was like, oh man, seriously, what is this? But I had also been praying for a way to be home with my children. Um, Anybody who's had kids and tries to keep a schedule can understand that typically between around 6 a.m. and maybe 7 p.m., that's all the daylight hours you might have with your child. So if you're working a full-time job and driving half hour to an hour to work and having your lunch hour, that's not 8 hours, that's 9. Now you have the drive there and back, that's now stretching to 10 or 11. And as a parent, I was having a hard time with that because how I envisioned myself being as a mom and how I was actually able to show up being as a mom were two different things. So I had this internal tension. So when I was laid off, in some ways it was like, okay, well, I did ask for this, and so I immersed myself in my kids. I immersed myself when my oldest got in school, being a volunteer, helping out, doing whatever I can to help that small school, help that teacher, help those children. And I loved it. When my youngest got into kindergarten, day 3, and I'm thinking like at the beginning, I'm like, oh, this is going to be the year for me. I'm going to be one of those like fit moms in the neighborhood that like exercises and does stuff. That'll be me. And then day 3, I get a call from a recruiter trying to recruit me for a company that was a competitor to where I had worked previously. And a few days before that, my husband was like, you really should get a job. And I nearly ripped his head off saying, what do you think? What do you mean I should get a job? I got to drop off these kids. I got to pick them up. There's no bus. What are you talking about? Like there is no job that would allow me the flexibility that I want to have to be the mom I want to be for these kids. And he very beautifully, as spouses, husbands, partners can do beyond what anybody else can ever do. He said, look, all I'm saying is if somebody talks to you about a job, don't tell them what you can't do. Tell them what you can do or what you will do. So it's like, here, this is priming me. So now a couple days later, this conversation happens and I'm tell them, no, I'm not gonna move to Detroit. I love Detroit. I'm actually in North Carolina. Carolina blue skies is a real thing. And I said, no, that's not gonna support the lifestyle I've become accustomed to. However, where are you guys calling from? Now, it turns out this was made for me before I knew I was made for it because the physical location of that particular recruiting firm, which focused on the chemical industry, was not even 10 minutes from my house. So there it became an opportunity where I could use my knowledge, education, experience, even having gone through chemical engineering and realizing, oh my gosh, I don't really care about this. Even having gone through a layoff, having worked in industry with all those different functions, I then was able to use that and help find people and make matches between hiring companies and candidates. And I kept seeing the same thing over and over. And I had already experienced it and was starting to kind of get it again, where you can be outwardly successful, you can do things really well, and you can feel inwardly conflicted. And so I'd see these high achievers that thought, oh, if only If only I got another job. That's what it is. It's the job. It's not just the job, it's this job at this company and this place. That's the problem. If I can leave and go to some other place, that'll solve all my problems. And the reality is, it was the same problems, just on different faces. And so I was thinking, yeah, what is that? Like, what is that about? And then I'm pushing myself now to achieve, because they had this thing called pace setter. Now, pace setter meant you were in the global top 2% of the larger umbrella network that this recruiting firm fell under. And now, if you got pace setter, not only did it sound cool, but you got to go on a super cool vacation in some exotic place, right? So it sounds amazing. And I did it for 5 years in a row. Except here's the thing. When it's really cheap to have people on a corporate vacation is when your children are in school. So again, I'm having this kind of like conflict of, here I'm doing this thing, I'm getting this achievement, and yet I'm not being the mom I want to be, because when I was talking to people who were supposedly happy in their jobs, trying to convince them to maybe go to another one, those things happen on nights and weekends. And then this vacation that I earned, they can't even come with me because they have school. So I was starting to feel like, what the heck is this? And I'm also thinking, gosh, God, I can't believe you keep having people do really well. And what? Like, this is just like, what is this for? And I had a time back when I was doing the adhesives, and I'm thinking, okay, someday when I die, right, and I get to meet and I get to see, like, what's really going on. And if there are pearly gates, which I'm gonna go ahead and say that there could be, and now we're talking about how I live my life, the decisions I made. I don't really see how saying I made an adhesive to bond metal parts to cars made any difference. And I was thinking that I don't feel like this is what I'm made for. And as I was doing recruiting, I'm helping people, but I don't feel like this is what I'm made for. And I keep seeing this thing. Now, here's what also happened that I now realize was part of being in a stressful work. When you're in a stress environment and you don't notice it right away, it's like, you put a frog in water and now you're going to boil it. Well, you don't, it doesn't start boiling right away. That frog's not jumping out. Why is it not jumping out? Because it's heating up slowly, slowly, slowly. And when somebody is in a career or in a job that's not quite aligned with the life they really want to live, it's like being that frog in water. It's heating up slowly, slowly, slowly. So slowly, slowly, while becoming pace setter, I was also developing high blood pressure. Not one, not two, but 3 different medications to try to get that under control. I had gotten to a point where I was eating my stress and eating my feelings, got up to class 2 obesity. I developed an irregular heart rate where I'd just be sitting, and then next thing you know is it was supraventricular tachycardia. So I would just be sitting doing nothing, literally doing nothing, and my heart rate would go up to 210. So then I'd sound like I'm in Lamaze having birth, and I'm not having birth. And that started freaking me out. I had to have a cardiac ablation to fix that. And then here comes my husband around our 20th wedding anniversary. And he kind of had a little sit down. And now normally how it goes is I'm the one in the relationship that says, this is what we're doing. Here's how we're doing it. And if everybody can just fall in line, well, I'll be great. Right. But there are times, again, this beautiful, lovely man who still chooses to be with me said, look, I'm scared. We're not going to have another one of these anniversaries because you are literally killing yourself. And the kids don't really know who you are, because all they were seeing, when you're at work and you're pushing yourself to achieve somebody else's version of success, then the people you say matter most get the worst of you. So I'm yelling at my kids. I'm yelling at my husband. It's, shh, mommy's on a call. And just nasty. Like, they're getting the leftovers because everything I had was spent trying to achieve these things for other people. So he's like, look, I don't care what you do, but this isn't it. Figure out what you want to do, and I support you 100%. Now, at that time, we had a kid getting ready to go to college. And I'm like, how does this make any sense? How's it like we got a kid getting, he said, it doesn't matter. What does that matter if you aren't here? and you were pace setter 5 years in a row. You're frugal as all get out. Don't worry about it. We don't, but like your health and your ability to be here is way more important than any job. So I left, never quit anything in my life. And I like to say it's not quitting. I chose me. I chose me. And I wanted to tackle that question. How is it that I saw it over and over again? People outwardly successful, inwardly unfulfilled. And so I treated that like another dissertation. And I made what is now my next success method to help. I help next chapter explorers become authentic success creators through the next success method. And we could talk more about that. There's a very long answer to a very simple question.
Well, yes, but I can relate to it because during COVID, I got burnt out um, doing police work, and I went from being employee and then officer of the year to leaving
Yeah.
in the middle of a pandemic because I deep down inside I wasn't fulfilled with what I was doing.
Yeah.
Um, and it's still to this day, me and my mother, I love her to death. I talk to her every day. She's like, you need to find a place and just stay.
No,
But
exactly. Yeah.
but I haven't found the place yet I've been fulfilled, and I've actually had some very great places I've worked the past few years.
Yeah.
Um, but deep down inside, it didn't fulfill me,
Yep.
and that's actually how I went down working on my doctorate. I've got about a year left, but it's because I was never fulfilled, and so for
Yeah.
so long I just showed up, did my job, which I enjoyed, but it's not what I wanted to do long term, and
Yeah.
she doesn't understand that. And I was actually just going to take a chief of police role in the past couple months, and it didn't work out. And my family was like, "Well, I can't believe you put on Facebook that you didn't take that role." Well,
You know
one,
what? Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care that people know I didn't take it.
Who cares?
Like
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
my life.
Yes.
Um, and I just had a discussion with my brother today or the other day, and he was like, "Well, I couldn't believe you put that on Facebook." I don't care that people know that I didn't take it.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't work out. It wasn't the right fit at the right time, and I'm I'm just an open book. You know,
I,
I
I love
uh,
it.
and
Yeah.
that's the thing that my family doesn't understand is I don't care. Like
You do care. You care about about putting yourself and your time, effort, and energy into something that you can see how it values. And you don't care what anybody else thinks about your thoughts, right? Because
yes,
they're
yeah,
not living your life. They're very well intentioned. And it's so hard for some people to break out of that structure. Because if people haven't gone through the exercise of figuring out what it is they want their life to look like and how can your career fuel that life instead of detract from it, if people haven't gone through that, it's so easy to get caught up in the corporate, like, here's what you need to do to get a promotion. And here's their mission and vision and values. And so now you're that employee. So you become what that mold is asking you. And anybody can shape shift for a little while. But then there become signs in your performance, relationships, and well being that are counter to that if you are not ultimately aligned with the place that you choose to give your time, effort, and energy. And so choosing to pause or wait or reassess to get to something that is right for you is way the heck better than choosing something that you know already. Like if you know already from the get-go, that's not it. And there were yellow flags when I had job interviews. And guess what? Over time, yellow flags become red flags, right? Now, there can be activities in a day or in a something that might not be your favorite, but as long as you know why and how and what you're doing, and okay, because I want this, that, the other, that's why I'm choosing to do my best in this particular thing for this moment. But I applaud you and commend you for, if that didn't work out, there's also like the rejection is God's protection. Or if it doesn't work out, that's not your place. Some people uh missed their plane on 9/11. Some people slept late. We don't know exactly some of the things that we can't control, but some of the things that we can control and we can choose, then my goodness, why not stack it in our favor? And if something's not there yet, then how could we make it there? Or how could you see? But you don't, yeah. God bless your family. They're very well-meaning, well-intentioned folks. And even I get that sometimes from my husband is my man. He's like, you're a safe bet, honey. I'm like, seriously? But he's like, no, I know you. I've seen you time and time again. There's like this incubation period and then you just explode with success. So I'm not worried about it. You're a safe bet. Tell me what you need. And I'm like, okay. But then that's a little bit of pressure too. But then you always got naysayers who love you that
Yep.
just, they don't see it because the vision wasn't given to them. Right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now later they'll be like, oh, I knew you were going to do it.
Yep.
I knew
And
you were going to do it well, doctor,
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I that's what I had the discussion the other day is I had to take about a half day of not talking to either one of them because I love them to death, but because I knew they came from a place of meaning well. They
Yeah.
just don't understand where I'm
No.
coming from.
Yeah.
And
No.
I started laughing because I understand where they're coming from. It just doesn't align with me. And
Yeah.
could I have went about it a different way? Of course.
Always.
But it'll work out in the end. So let's talk about next success. You kind of figure out where you want to be. You start going down this path. How did you start applying it to helping other people?
Mhm. Well, first, I wanted to put myself in a bunch of situations that were completely outside of my comfort zone. And I wanted to dig in and just like any good scientist or PhD student, try to go into the historical data and background and see what was already available, what was there, what could I latch onto or not. And then I wanted things that were scientifically valid, reproducible, and reliable. Because if I'm going to stand behind something as part of my program, I better believe it and it better be kind of true and true over time, right? So first I put myself into situations outside of my control and comfort zone. So like I went on a Boy Scout sailing trip through the Florida Keys with 11 people on the boat. I'm the only female, all guys age 15 up. That was fun. you know, I decided to do like stand up paddleboarding. That was fun. So I'm like, let me put myself into some everything you want is on the other side of your comfort zone. So, and I also wanted to try to figure things out on my own. So I quickly landed on one of the missing components that people don't have. And so like, well, let's back it up for a quick second. I view your career like an iceberg. Okay. So if you've ever seen a picture of an iceberg above the surface of the water, it looks pretty huge. But below the surface of the water, that thing goes down 4, 5, 6 times beyond what you saw on top. So to me, I say above the surface of the water is what everybody sees. That's the title, the location, the salary. That's what a lot of people focus on for their job. Below is what actually drives your satisfaction and fulfillment. So to me, that is, who are you? What do you do best? What do you want your life to look like? Can your career fuel that? How do you communicate with other people? And how well are you, what's your mental fitness and your mental resilience? So the chatter going on in your mind. So to me, these are the missing things that if only we unlocked those, people could have ultimate authentic success. And to me, authentic success is how you define it, not how your family defines it, not how my peoples that said, here's how you can be a pace setter define it. Here's how you can be valedictorian. Here's how you get a fellowship. Not those people. Because I did that and I wasn't feeling successful. I got their measure, but I was still feeling torn. And your body knows. Your body, if you guys ever go to a job interview, just like when you look at cars and you look at apartments and you look at houses, you go through several of them, and then you get to one that you're like, this actually feels like home, right? If you're going to one and you're like, what the heck is that? That's the yellow flag that's going to become a red flag over time. So I dig in. I realize one of the main things is someone's natural abilities. right? Because you hear, okay, everybody's made on purpose for a purpose only they can do. Cool. And I know that the things that make me unique, special, were given to me for a reason. Even my extroverted, and then in the wrong environment, somebody's going to think this lady is too much, right? But I'm not too anything. I am made this way for a purpose. So natural abilities is a huge part that unlocked understanding. So for that, I searched and searched and searched and searched. And I'm like, let me find an objective performance-based measurement to really see how are people hardwired. Now, however you're hardwired, you can build skills on top of that. See, that's the difference between a natural ability is what you're given. If you don't spend any time, effort, and energy, you're not going to lose it. But when you do spend time, effort, and energy with a natural ability aligned with who you are, it feels energizing. It feels exciting. That's amazing. Like for me, talking with people, I love it. That's part of how I'm hardwired. So for that, I chose something called the Highlands Ability Battery. Has over 100 years of research, looks at 19 different areas, and can kind of give you a like a thumbprint or like a fingerprint of how are you hardwired. And then from there, you can choose to skill build either way, depending on what it is you're wanting to do. And if I help somebody at any stage of their life that's not quite sure what they want to do, from that assessment, it can link to the entire government network of jobs and help somebody see a starting point of, based on your natural abilities, here are some jobs that are aligned with how you're wired. Now, that's just one factor. Doesn't mean you're interested in it, right? I could do chemical engineering, doesn't mean I'm interested in it, but I still have the underlying foundation. Is still a helpful assessment. So, communication behavior, you had a gentleman on the other day that talked about part of the DISC assessment. So that is your outer layer of personality. That can change depending on your environment that you're in, but you usually have a natural style and adapted style. It's still helpful to understand. So you can boil that down into, is someone open or guarded, direct or indirect? And understanding where someone falls in those quadrants, understanding your own style, then understand, how do I need to adjust my communication for my message to be best received by the other person? So if I go to Spain, I best learn some Spanish, right? So it's almost like that. If I'm going to talk to my husband, who is indirect and guarded, saying, what the heck? This trash is so freaking full. Can you take this out? Is not going to be as well received as, hey, honey, on your way out, would you mind maybe taking out this? It looks like the garbage is kind of full. So if I adjust it, I'm gonna have a way better relationship with him. Another one is having an integrated vision. What do you want your life to look like? What do you want your career? How can your career fuel that? And there's 8 different factors. I help people go through that. But what really unlocked it for me was mental fitness and mental resilience. Have you ever heard of positive intelligence?
Yes.
Have you heard of Positive Intelligence PQ by Shirzad Shamin?
No.
Okay, here's some cool stuff. Okay. So in my midst of trying to unlock this and figure out what's missing, first I thought it was just communication behavior, the natural abilities, and the integrated vision. What do you want for your life and your career? And I had a guy who decided he wanted me to help him be prepared for behavioral based interviewing, right? So those are the, tell me about a time when you had to work with a difficult person, or tell me about a time when there was something that was crossing an ethical boundary. What did you do? Right? So those questions you answer typically in a PAR or STAR format. So problem, action, result, or situation, task, action, result. So this man asks me to help him with this. And I'm like, yeah, buddy, I got you. But everything that he was giving, every question I gave, his answers were so well done, well scripted. I'm thinking, I don't understand what the issue is. This guy can get any job he wants. Like this, he tells me then that he had already had 3 different interviews. It was in 3 different interview processes at like pharmaceutical companies. And he failed each one of them. But now he had an opportunity at a 4th company. And so he's thinking it's his behavioral based interview. And I'm like, well, tell me what else happened, right? Like any good coach. And then what happened, right? And he tells me that he's sitting across people that are interviewing him, and they're judging him and thinking he's stupid. And so he's now, agitated and defensive. I'm like, okay, well, that's different than your answer. Because have you ever known the right thing to do and yet you don't do it? Right? Have you ever gone in and like you can be emotionally intelligent, you can know about managing your emotions, you can know about all of those things, and still you sabotage yourself, whether that's your voice saying, who the heck do you think you are, or avoiding something, people pleasing, all of those. You can have all those issues. He goes to the interview. Firstly, he had travel issues the night before. He had to fly there. Gets only 2 hours of sleep. He had a presentation he was supposed to give. He's working on that till the last minute, has about 75 slides for a 20-minute presentation. He sweats through his suit. People are judging him again. He's defensive and angry. And he even falls asleep in the interview. So I'm feeling like I missed something. I missed something because this guy had all the other pieces in line. I then learned about this positive intelligence PQ. So Shirzad Shamin is a Stanford professor, and he made this book. Here it is. This book. Now, books give you knowledge. Practice gives you knowing, right? So the book, Positive Intelligence, on the very cover, it says, why only 20% of teams and individuals achieve their true potential and how you can achieve yours. Now, for someone in professional development, self-development, it's like, heck yeah, sign me up. Let me see what this is. So I come to find out that there's not just a book, there's a whole coaching program. Of course there is, right? This man studied people and their reactions, their emotions, and success. Are they sabotaging themselves, or are they actually propelling themselves forward? There's an assessment, and he figured out that he used something called factor analysis to say everybody has maybe 10 negative forces and 5 positive forces. So factor analysis, what is that? So we can relate it to colors. Everybody understands this, and like colors, every color in the world is really based off of 3 basic colors: yellow, red, and blue, right? And you combine those colors and you can get any other color in the world. So when he tried to look at all of these things that were maybe inhibiting somebody's success, there were 10 negative forces, 5 positive in that factor analysis. And everybody has different combinations of them. There was an assessment where you could see what are your favorite flavors of sabotage, and also what % of the time is your mind working for you versus against you. So I take this assessment first thinking, because I want to help the people that I'm going to work with, right? It's for them, right? And I get a score that, and this is after a couple years of personal development, after 10 years of therapy, blah, blah, blah. My score was like 40% of the time. Only 40% of the time my mind was working for me. What the heck? 40% for somebody who spent their life overachieving, high achieving? 40%? Are you kidding me? And then I find out that my favorite saboteurs were things like hyperachiever. Okay. Now, in some ways that was good. I got my PhD, I got all the awards, blah, 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 blah. But also controller, hyper vigilant. I have like an entire huge pantry of first aid supplies, and I'm not a first responder. I'm just a mom, right? So there are ways that in our mind we have been conditioned to, and some of these things happen in childhood, but we reacted at that time, and now we continue to react instead of respond. So what I was able to learn from this positive intelligence thing is now a huge part of my program, is not just how I was sabotaging myself, but also how to fix it, how to adjust it, how to be better. So if someone wants to get in shape, you go to the gym, right? And let's say you want to build muscles. Well, you're going to do sets and reps of exercises, right? Same thing can be done to build new neural pathways in your brain. And so cool, this positive intelligence program, they did a lot of scientific backed studies, fMRI studies, to study the brain before and after this program. And you can really see new areas of the brain being developed and engaged after several months of doing this kind of a program. For me, in 8 weeks of not just knowing the information, but doing daily practices and exercises of trying to build this resilience, my blood pressure, the top number, and I already told you I was on 3 different blood pressure medications, went down 20 points. 20 points in just 8 weeks of doing this program. So for me, even though I was achieving, even though I had all these outward markers of success, part of the reason my family didn't get the best of me is I was so wound up in my head trying to control everything and everyone and all of those things that chatter, I didn't even know it was there, because it's kind of like that boiling frog example again. Like it just little by little, like little by little by little by little by little by little, it builds up until one day you're going to explode, right? And there's a, God bless her, like a checkout girl at Chipotle, right? They weren't fast enough with my order. And I ripped this girl a new one. And I was only standing in there and right next to my teenage son, who's mortified that I'm having this outward outburst at this poor, beautiful soul working at Chipotle. So and then I'm like, something's wrong, right? Like something's up. I got to fix this. So this program was immensely helpful for not only me but my my clients. So how did I decide and how did I do that for other people? I was on a mission to tackle this thing. I had people that I'd seen problems that kept resurfacing. And then I utilized the program on myself and then tested it like a good scientist on small groups of people who had amazing results. And so I'm able to help people go from unsettled, unfulfilled, questioning and feeling bad about it to helping them realize questioning your career is not something's wrong. That means there's an opportunity for you to design, what do you want your next success to look like? That's why my company is Next Success. I believe every single person, if you are breathing, your heart is beating, you are already a success. You got to today. But what do you want your next success to look like? If somebody wants and needs a structured program to really sort it out, like what's holding you back, I've got that framework. I've got the thing. I can help you through it. I've got proven results. And the people who go through my program are lasting happy. And the process can be utilized now and their next questioning 7 to 10 years later, or however that goes. So that's how that came about.
I love it. What when you started doing the coaching and helping people, what has been the easiest transition for you in that? Like, so you're doing now something that fulfills you. How have you, I guess guess what I'm trying to say is, how have you fulfilled other people with your coaching? So like, um do you think that the coaching is what's being successful, or do you think it's more the assessment? Like, what do you think is the applied success there? Like, which one do you think is more successful? Because the reason I ask that is, you talk to a coach, and they're going to tell you the coaching's what's been successful. But then you talk to somebody that developed the assessment, they're going to say, that was my assessment that did that. Which one do you think has been more successful, your coaching or the assessment itself?
Well, any good person is going to say it depends, right? But I'm a believer of it's the combination of things and factors. So if somebody wants to hear about some examples of some people, I have a podcast called Your Next Success. It's available on all the major platforms, but there's a couple episodes, a couple with Renee, and then there was one with Penda. And both of those beautiful souls have gone through my entire program. And you can hear them describe before and after and the effect that it had on them. So is it me? I'm not going to lie. I am just a soul on earth trying to allow the, God-given gifts and talents, and whether somebody wants to say God or say universe, I'm going to say God. Other people can say, my husband's Hindu. He's going to say something different, but that's okay. But I'm allowing those things to flow through me to help make the world a better place. But it's not me. I am not ego enough in this moment. Now, in my 20s, it would have been all about me, right? But now I'm almost 50, and I realize it is not me. It's a combination of factors. It's a combination of the person deciding to go out on a limb and explore the unknown. It's a part of me providing a safe enough space without judgment, because I've been there and I get it. I know it. I don't, like, for you, and I'm like, you're like, and I didn't take that job, and I'm like beaming because I'm like, good for you, buddy. Like, good for you, because there's a reason you decided that wasn't the right thing for you, and you got to trust that. So many people override, and even I overrode. Now, in my 18, 22, I didn't know enough about who I was and wasn't, or what was available in the world to be able to counter the wise advice my dad was trying to give me, right? And in a lot of ways, I'm glad I did that, because then I had this method. And even in choosing my assessments, there's a lot of assessments that can all give you data, but I chose ones because, like, Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENTJ. And now freaking what? Like, what do I do with that? I didn't understand, like, how does that actually relate to the world? Or Clifton Strengths. Every time I take Clifton Strengths, it's different. I can't stand behind that. Yeah, I can't stand behind that at all. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not valid for a thing, but I tried to get, where are there some that are coming to the core of who you are, and you can understand what it's like to be you. You can understand what it's like to not be you, to open your awareness. So even if you are in a leadership position and now, or you're getting to choose, or you get to have input in what you do, what activities you do versus what you delegate, this gives you lots of sign. I wanted to have, like, okay, it all comes from inside you. I get that. Yes. But I didn't know how to sort that out. So I wanted to have valid things to look at, almost like little mini handbooks of, this is about me, and this is helping me articulate and explain, give words to what it's like to be me in a way that I could help other people understand. And so it's not me. It's the combination of factors. It's the person being open, willing, starting to be vulnerable, and to say things that they've never said out loud. Like, to be, I don't really know that polymer science was it for me. Are you kidding? You're so smart and great. Who do you think you are? So many people would die to get a PhD. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And I'm just like, that was one day. But ultimately, it's the person going on the journey, articulating things about themselves for themselves. And even as I approach, like, what do you want for your life? What do you want for your career? I told you, it's not just your title, your salary, your location. I go through 8 different factors. So I'm a specialist. I'm going to go real deep. I'm going to be real thorough. So if somebody wants that approach, great. If they're a generalist and just kind of want the gist of it, I might not be your person. But I'll say, where are you in your career development stage? Right? An 18-year-old is way different than a 65-year-old. What you're willing to do. What are your natural abilities? What are the skills, the things you've invested time, effort, and energy to learn? What are your interests? How about your personal style? Introvert, extrovert, generalist, specialist. That's how you show up at work. Your family you came from, and the family you have now, both influence a lot of how you look at careers and things. Your goals and your values. So I help people go through a detailed process to really sort that out once and for all in this snapshot of time. All of those things together. Then we make a vision of what do they want their life to look like. And it's a draft, because drafts sound better than final versions, right? Because you can change it any time. But if it's like, oh, make the vision for your life. Man, I don't want to get that wrong, but make a draft. It's a draft. Okay, cool. And then you figure out what you want your career to look like, because when you are aligned, you feel fulfilled. You feel satisfied. Most people haven't gone through that exercise, and therefore they become the mold of somebody else who defined it. So but I'm the guide. They're the hero.
I love it. I love it. As we kind of start to wrap up, I've got one thing I for sure want to touch on, and then I've added one thing in that I'm going to surprise you with.
Okay.
So I love the idea of your coaching program um, and everything with that. Where and you've kind of touched on your podcast where everybody can listen to that at.
Yep.
Where can people reach out to you to do your coaching program, or if they've got questions on where they want to end up in life,
Yeah.
where can they find you at?
Yep. So my website is nextsuccesscareers.com. And from there, anybody can choose to set up a free call to talk with me a little bit about how that is. I'm also on LinkedIn, Carolyn Sangal. Please feel free to connect with me. YouTube, my YouTube channel is at Next Success Method. That's also where you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. So at Next Success Method is one. Carolyn Sangal on LinkedIn, nextsuccesscareers.com for that. And then there is the Your Next Success podcast, which is at nextsuccesspodcast.com. So
Love it.
all of them.
So, if today is your last day on this earth, and you would give one final message to make this world a better place, what would your message be?
Um, wow, that's a great thing. My message would be, you are loved. You are already enough. You are already worthy. The same God that decided to make every single flower, every single animal, bird, even insects, mountains, oceans, all of that, decided you two were a very important part of this world. And you already have the greatness inside you. What it's about is unlocking that and allowing yourself to fully be who you are. That would be my message.
I love it. Dr. Sangal, you've been great. I'm definitely going to have you back because we just scratched the surface today.
Oh,
Um, and I think that there's so many first responders out there that can listen to what you were talking about and feel, hey, we need to just tweak some things to fulfill ourselves a little bit better.
yeah.
So thank you for joining me today. You are awesome. Um, I know it's a Saturday during college football season. You got kids. Thank you for joining me, and we're gonna have you back for sure.
I appreciate you so much, and all the best for you and your education and all of those things too. And let's meet up outside of this also, because I'm happy to help you see what it's like to go through that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Welcome.